actually argue that is one of the best times to start. What steps to take, pretty much exactly.
So there's two routes you can go, right? If you've noticed, like all the very, very, wealthy billionaires and wealthy people in the world, a lot of them, a huge percentage comes from, what is that mindset? That mindset is really, for me, consistent of three main pillars.
All right, sweet. So I'm here with my mentor and very good friend, Jad Kantari. And where are we right now, Jad?
Dubai
So,
on the Palm.
yeah, it's beautiful. I wish we could show you guys the amazing view that we're looking at right now while filming this. We tried to shoot the podcast outside, but it didn't really work out too well because of the lighting and stuff. So now we're in here. But yeah, we're just gonna go over some questions, hopefully provide some value for you guys, dive a little bit into Jad's story. We'll talk about some of my stuff as well. And yeah, let's make a good video.
Awesome, man, let's get it.
Sweet. So yeah, first things first, what are you actually doing here in Dubai? Because
Good question.
I was surprised when you said you were coming through, and I was like, perfect timing.
It wasn't even planned.
Yeah.
So my family lives out here. My family used to live in Lebanon, but recently I opened a company out here, and then got them to move here, got them residency, and yeah, now they live out here. It's my first time in Dubai. So I wanted to come out, check it out. I'll be spending a lot of time out here as well. I have a lot of friends out here, and I want to be closer to my family, closer to Europe. And if I want to go, visit Lebanon, I can. It's only like a 3-hour flight. So yeah, man, it's been great so far. Been here about like a month now, maybe a little bit less. But yeah, I'm gonna fly to Lebanon for a bit, fly to the States, go to Europe for a bit, and then I'll be back here September, and I'm gonna be spending a lot of time out here.
Sweet. So are you planning on living out here almost full time as well? Because that's my plan, and so I want to see what you're up to with that.
Yeah, I know a lot of entrepreneurs are doing that right now, where they're just moving everything to Dubai because it's no tax. But right now, for me, it's not gonna be full time out here because I do want to live in the States. So it'll be between here and the States, definitely.
LA specifically?
LA, yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So yeah, I mean, I've been free flowing around the past 6-8 months as well, as you know, just kind of trying to figure out where I want to live and how I want to set up over the next few years. So I've been to a bunch of different places, and I think I'm going to do something similar. Like, I'm probably not going to spend all year out in Dubai, but I'll definitely be spending time here. I just set up my company here and just got my Emirates ID and everything, went through that whole process. But yeah, I'll be between obviously my home in Vancouver, probably spending some time in LA and in the States as well. And then from Dubai, and from there, just traveling around. Have some plans this summer to travel around Europe and just see as much of the world as possible.
Nice, man. That's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, sweet. So let's dive into your story for the audience who don't know, because I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there who haven't seen Jad on my channel yet, but maybe some of you guys have seen him in some of the previous videos. I went out to LA the first time we linked up. We shot a podcast like this. Yeah. That would have been maybe 8 months ago.
Yeah, about.
Yeah, 8 months, maybe even a year ago actually. So it's been a while now, but now we're a little bit older, a little bit wiser. Lots happened.
Yeah, lots changed.
But let's recap and let's get back to kind of your original story, where you're from, your roots, upbringing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I grew up in Lebanon. Left Lebanon when I was 18. Went to the States on my own. Went to go to school. Basically, I went to USC for civil engineering. Graduated USC. I worked on a project downtown as an engineer in downtown Los Angeles. It was the tallest concrete residential building west of the Mississippi, so it was a very big project. Worked on it for 3 years, and then throughout the process, I hated the 9-to-5 life, so I wanted to escape that, and I started doing ecom. Tried Etsy for a bit, eBay. I was flipping Yeezys. I was always an entrepreneur at heart, because I always knew I wasn't gonna work for someone else. I'm gonna work for myself. I want to be, I want to build my own empire in a sense, and started dabbling with Ecom. And right before that, actually, I had seen a Tai Lopez video about SMMA, and I tried that. I was actually working with a buddy of mine to get doctors signed up for an agency and run ads for them to get them clients and patients. And that fell through because it required a lot of sales, in the sense that you had to go knock on doors or call, cold call doctors. And dentists are the worst to get a hold of, and it was just a pain in the ass. So my other option was, so option one was services, option two was products. So I was like, okay, well, products, at least I won't have to really deal with someone who's on my ass all the time, or I have to be on their ass, or there's not much kind of communication back and forth, like correspondence. So I ended up just going into products, man, and then started flipping Yeezys, like I said. I made like 14 G's in 10 days, which was like the most amount of money I had. I still have that screenshot till this day. It was crazy. And then kept getting banned on there because Yeezys are a very tough item to sell, because, you're dealing with counterfeit and people are always reporting it, and you have to like, and back then it was like people were very big on like the checks and whatnot, like, the easy checks and whatnot.
I was into all that back then.
Exactly. So, if you're a sneakerhead, And then but it gave me the potential, man. It gave me that fire that like, this is like real. Like, cause growing up, you don't really know if you can do something until you actually try it and like succeed at it. When you keep failing at it, it's always so close, but yet so far, because you haven't really like tasted that success yet. But once you do, man, it really changes your outlook on life, because it's like, oh wait, like I can do it. Right? Because you can see people doing it and being successful, and you're like, okay, well, maybe they have something I don't, or maybe they're special, or maybe they've done something I don't know how to do. But if you do it and then you end up succeeding at it, dude, the sky's the limit. And that's what happened to me, man. I ended up going into Etsy, sold the ring. They, banned me because it was dropshipped from Alibaba, and everything on Etsy has to be handmade. So, but again, it gave me that confirmation that there's a market for this. You can sell things online, people want to buy online, and you can make money with this. So, I went to Shopify and then started dropshipping, and the rest was history, man. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like, before I knew it, I was doing, $1 million months, working at my 9 to 5, getting like a measly 65K a year, when I'm making more money than like the project manager, like the project executive. I'm making more money than this guy. Like, my boss's 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 boss. Yeah. So it was just like, wow. And nobody knew. People kind of were suspicious that I was doing other things, because I would work on my business, at work. But nobody knew, and I was good with separating. Like, I didn't, cross between the two. I would just like check ads here and there, or check the store. But man, it was crazy, man. And it was a crazy experience, because it really shaped who I am today, in the sense that it was crazy for me to juggle both, because like I get this question all the time, and I'm sure you do too, where people are like, well, I'm working a 9 to 5, and how do I have time to work, to start a business, or I have a family, or I have a kid, or whatever, right? Or I'm going to school. And for me, I had to be at work at like 6:30 a.m. So I would wake up at 6. I live very close to the project. So I would wake up at 6, get to the project at 6:30, start my job, end at like 4:30. So it's a good 10-hour work day. Get home, work out real quick, the 40-minute workout, and then from like 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. I'm on the grind. I'm just working on my store, working on my ads, checking Facebook Ads Manager, just scaling ads, testing. And weekends were like just work, like grind mode, from Friday night to like Sunday night, right? Just like go ham, bro. And just kept repeating that and doing that regularly. And at the end of the day, I just ended up just quitting.
Yeah. And to all those people who say like, oh, should I be starting because I have a 9 to 5, or I'm in school or whatever, I would actually argue, I don't know about you, but I would actually argue that is one of the best times to start, when you're in school or when you're still in a job. Because for me, when I started entrepreneurship, I was in school full time. I was in university. And so having to juggle both, like you said, the grind of it, going to school, all day, getting home 6 p.m. to 1 a.m., that's when you're building the empire, that's when you're working. And consistently doing that for months, or potentially even years, before you really, make enough money to break free from your school or break free from your job. The skills that you've gained in that period of time are absolutely unbelievable, because you're now in a position where you've had to work essentially twice, 3 times as hard as somebody else, and you've still managed to achieve the same level of success or make the same amount of money. So guess what happens when you're now able to remove school or remove your job from the equation? You're gonna slingshot so much farther ahead because you've built the time management. Truly grateful, like looking outside to this beautiful view, and even just sitting down and getting to film this podcast with you and just chopping it up and networking with people. And this is all like, it's our work in a sense, but it doesn't feel like work because every day is so fun and we're doing what we love and we're different places all the time, meeting new people. And yeah, I'm just unbelievably grateful to be in this position. And yeah, Ecom started it all for me as well. And yeah.
Yeah, man, it's you know, it's a blessing. It really is. And you get to live once, as cheesy and you know, stupid as it sounds and corny. You really get to live once. Like, you decide how you want to live this life. And you know, me being at the age that I am, 32, you know, I look back and my only regret is I wish I started earlier. But my life went in a way where I had to move to the States and go to school for 5 years and then work for 3 years. So that took a huge chunk out of my life, because I came from a third world country and I had to do that in order to get my citizenship, or else I would have just stayed in a third world country. So I had a very kind of like late start. Like, people start at like, you know, box 1. I started like box -10. But you know, it is what it is, just like life. I'm you know, blessed in other ways, and I'm grateful for those blessings that God gave me. So I'm not complaining at all. But again, it also gave me the gratitude that I have right now for life and for all the things that I've accomplished and continue just to accomplish. Because one thing I've noticed when I moved to the US is people in the US are very spoiled, because and not just the US, you know, I love the US. I'm not bagging on the US. I'm just saying, people that live in nice areas, privileged areas, they just, you know, they don't go through the difficulties, and they don't see how real like 99% of life is. And this is what really shapes you, especially as a man, right? Like, it gives you this outlook on life that nobody's there to get you. Like, you have to get your own self. Like, you need to be there for your own self and fend for your own, or else you're screwed, right?
Yeah.
So me growing up in a third world country really helped me understand that, be grateful for the smallest things, all the accomplishments, you know, that I've made and I've seen other people make, like you, and really cherish that, man. It's honestly, I think that's one of the main things that kept me going and keeps me so hungry right now, because I see a lot of people that just like kind of, you know, slow down because they get comfortable and they're just used to that comfortable life, and there's not really much out there driving them. But when you come from a place like Lebanon, or, you know, the third world country, man, it just lights up this fire in you. And if you've noticed, like, all the very, very, you know, wealthy billionaires and wealthy people in the world, they all, not all, but a lot of them, a huge percentage comes from very, very humble, even poor beginnings, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy. I was reading something, they were saying that, like, you know, obviously there's people with family money, so who are born into like generational wealth, but the large majority, I think it was like 70% of, you know, multimillionaires are self-made, and a lot of them came from very humble beginnings as well. I remember this one time for me, I was communicating with an employee of mine. This was probably like 2-3 years ago, one of the first employees that I had, and they were out in the Philippines, and they were, you know, not able to work for like 3-4 days straight because there was hurricanes and they had no electricity, which cut out the Wi-Fi and the power, and they were in the dark. And then, you know, they called me and they were really, you know, apologizing for not being on top of their tasks. And I kind of dug deep into it. I was like, well, what's going on? Like, why weren't you able to work? And they told me all this. And that's when I really realized, like, wow, you know, this life really isn't fair.
Yeah.
So, you know, I got to grow up where I always had a Wi-Fi connection, which means that if I was just sat down and put in the work in front of my computer, it could get me to where I am today. And I had that opportunity. I had the time to do that. But there's people growing up in this world who don't even have access to Wi-Fi, or there's a damn hurricane coming through their house and flooding it every other week, and they literally cannot build unless they take, you know, certain actions beforehand, which just makes it a million times harder. But like you said, those people who do make it out from those situations, they have something special because they made it out in the first place, and then they tend to go very, very far from there.
Of course, man. It's a driving force, right? It's a driving force. And one thing I want to mention that you just mentioned was these people that make it out and end up building empires are just like you and I and anybody watching, right? They're not special. And that was one of the biggest turning points in my entrepreneurship experience, because I was struggling making sales in the beginning when I was in ecom, and I always had this self-doubt, like, am I doing things wrong? Am I not smart enough? Like, what the fuck is it, right? And what I was blessed to, go through was a mastermind. I made a little bit of money on like a couple winners, and then I had enough to like go to a mastermind with the Tan brothers, and it was in New York, and it was my first like ecom mastermind. And back then, dude, there wasn't many masterminds. Like right now, everybody's doing them. Like back then, it was very, very rare thing. Like it would be like 2-3 a year maybe. Right now, there's like 2-3 a week, right? Yeah. So so I end up going to New York, and I meet these guys, and these guys are like doing like $3 million a month, like $1 million a month, like 500,000, crazy numbers. And I'm like, holy, like how are you guys doing this? And then we spent 3 days together, at the mastermind, and it was very eye-opening because it allowed me to really see that these guys are very similar to me. Like there's nothing that's different between me or anybody there who's making a lot of money. And I was like, so if these guys are just like normal dudes, they bleed like I bleed, like why am I worried? Like I should be able to do this easy. And dude, it's crazy because I went back to LA and I had my first $1 million month right after. I found this winner. It was like eyelashes. It was magnetic eyelashes back in the day that we used to like run those, and just scaled that to $1 million, which was wild.
$1 million
so,
a month.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
and you're saying like, oh, back then, even today, $1 million a month.
It's crazy because like right now, like $1 million, I'm so desensitized to that like back then it like made a big deal for me, but now it doesn't. But dude, it's still wild to go through that experience, and that's one thing I recommend people to do is put yourself in positions and places where you're meeting with other successful entrepreneurs all the time, because once you do, not only do you learn from them, you also get to see that they're normal people just like you and I. They don't know more than you, they don't know less than you. They're just people that are hungry, that get after it, work for what they want, and they get it one way or another. Like they just don't stop and they keep doing the work. That is it. And once I understood that, it changed my life.
All right, so obviously you've experienced a lot of success over the past few years, or since you obviously stepped into ecom and then had the crazy $1 million month and beyond. But let's dive into how that success, how that money may have changed you. Is there anything that went on behind the scenes in your personal life, the way you interacted with family, friends, just the way you went out? Like what really changed? Because obviously going from growing up in a third world country to moving to the US to probably working and just barely getting by to making very, very good money and being ultra comfortable in Los Angeles. How did that all look?
I don't think money really changes people. I think money enables who you are. So you're not just gonna change as a person once you have money. You'll just become more of who you are.
Amplifies your personality.
Exactly. Yeah. It just adds to who you are. And so that's what happened to me. And I've always been humble. I've never really been flash. I mean, I enjoy life, but I've never been a guy to like flash things around. Again, I enjoy nice things, but within reason. And it got me closer to my family, man. I was able to get, take care of my family. My mom and my dad are divorced, so I was able to just immediately, as soon as I made money, just take care of my mom fully, help my brothers out. My youngest brother now works with me on the Discord, so he's a partner in it, and he's, scaling his own store. So it was nice to be able to help a lot of cousins as well, educate them on ecom, spread the knowledge. Lost a couple friends here and there, but I mean, I think those friendships weren't gonna last anyway because of the type of, dynamic or maybe people that they were. So again, money just amplifies things. It brings things to surface, in my opinion. So for me, it was really, a blessing. And yeah, that's another thing that changed for me. Like, I was very well respected, not because of the actual money amount, but because of like, you prove to the world and as well to yourself, and the world shouldn't matter, right? But 'cause I didn't do it for the world, I did it for myself. But at the same time, that's something that's funny. I was just talking to my mom about this the other day, and it's crazy, man. I have people that I went to like college with, like 10 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever, that hit me up randomly, out of the blue, like either on Facebook or Instagram, or they find me and they're like, yo, like, heard you're crushing it, bro, like, da-da-da-da, like, what, how you doing? Like, they want to just, people just, like, come. Like, they just come around and they find you, especially when you start, like, building your empire and building a name for yourself. It's just kind of crazy to experience. Like, I never thought, like, these people that, I met 10 years ago through a class or something, or just, was friends with, and you can tell that they look at you in a different light now. Like, not that they didn't respect you in the past, they did, but now it's like a different level of respect. And not because just of the money, right? That's kind of superficial. It would be because, yo, this guy made something out of himself. Like, this dude actually said he was gonna do this, and he actually did it. And trust me, there's not many people in this world that will do what they say. A lot of people talk, but the action is very, very scarce. Like, it's very rare to find people who will stick to their word and actually, put their words into action and accomplish and stick with it, right? A lot of people start and, they dilly-dally, and then they end up just finding an excuse and falling off, versus, a lot of people, very rarely do you find someone who actually sticks to their word and ends up, killing it. And once you show that to people, I guess now you're like a power figure, right? And it's very interesting.
100%. Yeah, and it's, one thing that I've always really respected about you since, I met you, even before I met you, was that, you carry this sense of, you're just here to provide value and just give back as much as possible. Obviously, you came from humble beginnings and made a lot of money, but you're still one of the most humble dudes that I know. And how you've treated your mom and your family, and just giving back to everybody in the community. Even, for me, being in the position that I was when we first met, obviously you're miles above where I was in terms of my achievements in business and how much money I had generated online and stuff like that. But you were so open and so willing to, have me out to LA, kind of take me under your wing, give me some of your advice and some help. It has really gone a long way. And I think the people on the other side of the screen can already see how far we've came in the last year. And a lot of that, guys, thanks to Jad and his advice and his wisdom. And we've been working closely and staying in touch ever since we met. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see, especially as you start growing a bigger and bigger audience online as well, what type of value you can bring to them. So I guess that brings me to my next question here is, where do you see yourself going, taking that, direction of content and potentially YouTube, social media, and continuing to give back to a new audience?
So before I answer that question, there's something I wanted to mention that you touched on. And that is, and we talked about it the other day when we were cruising, Nathan is one of the most hardworking people that I've ever met at such a young age. And when again, this goes back to what I was just talking about, the fact that people will just talk and not really put their words into action. And I remember when we spoke, I was like, yo, fly out to LA, and you're like, all right, and you flew out to LA. Like, it was, and how many conversations I've had like this with people where people are like, yeah, let's meet up, and it just never happens, right? Because people just don't want to do it. So you were just like out here, you hung out, you toughed it out, we shot content, we exchanged cheat codes, like we really worked together, and you were so hungry, and I was like, wow, like this guy is young, and like it's worth investing in you in a sense, right? Like, I saw the opportunity. Like, if I had met you and I was like, this guy's kind of lost and he doesn't really know what he's doing, and he's not, I can see that it's cap kind of, like I probably wouldn't have, not that, I'm not a good person. It's just like, you don't want to invest in people that won't they're not worth investing in. And once I met you, I saw that you were definitely one of those guys. And that's why I was so happy. And dude, like, there's nothing better, and there's not a better feeling than investing in someone and seeing those, the fruit of their labor kind of just, come out. So with you, it was a very interesting interaction, and I really believed in you, and I was like, you know what? And like I said the other day, man, you're a very, very genuine kid, very genuine guy. I've never seen you do or say anything bad. Like, it's just pure like niceness and goodwill. Like, even the way you just like interact with your friends, with people in general, like I've never gotten a bad vibe from you or any like scamminess or weirdness or nothing like whatsoever. Just pure like goodwill. And honestly, like I don't need to be saying these things, like, but I do want to emphasize this because there's not many nice, good people in the world, and it's very important for you to stick to that, especially in business, man. Business is so like, it's like a bunch of sharks, and everybody's trying to like screw each other over, and what goes around comes around. Like, eventually you're gonna get screwed if you screw other people over. So, and I've seen you just go the legit route and do things by the book to the T, and it's like big respect to that, man. Like big respect to that. There's not many people that do it, and if you do that enough, and I've seen this amongst other people as well, if you do this, if you stick to if you'd run the marathon instead of the sprint, instead of scamming people, taking advantage of people, and really provide a good product and offer and just good info from the bottom of your heart, not expecting anything in return or not trying to screw people over, God will reward you 10 times more. Like it's been proven to me over and over again. So that's kind of off topic a bit. I just want to touch on it because,
thank you, bro. Really appreciate that.
Because you did bring that up. So going back to your question, in terms of the content, I'm definitely looking to fire up my YouTube channel. That's something that I've been prepping for. I'm also gonna be we'll have my Discord right now. That's a Discord where we discuss everything ecom. It's a community of about 600 people and growing. And I also have a SAAS that I'm launching. It's a spy tool that I'll probably be dropping on YouTube as well.
Yeah, and for everybody watching as well, we'll have Jad's Discord, Instagram, YouTube, everything linked down below in the description. So make sure you guys check that out because I'm in his Discord. Some of the most valuable ecom content out there. Jad's, if you can't already tell, he's an authority in the space. He's one of the people that I look up to in the space, and he's got one of the biggest reputations and results to show for it behind his name as well. So definitely make sure you guys check him out on all platforms, and he's going to be pumping out lots of content, and some of it will be with me as well. So make sure you guys tap in. Sweet. So one of the biggest things for me when I was starting out and first seeing some early success was reframing my mindset and the way that I thought about a lot of things. And even to this day, and I'm sure for years to come, I'll be having so many epiphanies about business and just about the way that life works, and just constantly learning every single day and making those shifts to get to the next level. But for you, what are the steps that you took in developing your mindset and the way that you go about thinking, both related to business and unrelated to business, in order to get you to where you are today and to where you want to be in the future?
So when you're starting off, you don't really have a mindset in the sense. You're just like working your ass off and you're trying to stay consistent. But the part of the journey is sharpening your mind in a sense and coming up with the mindset. It's something that you can't really learn. You just have to, kind of like, you can't read it or like learn it by just looking at it. You just have to go through it, right? Just like if you wanted to learn a sport, you just go out on the field and keep playing it, and you suck a bunch till eventually you're good. So it's really practice. And I think with the thing about mindset, and that's just like part of life, like it's life that teaches you mindset. And when it comes to our situation, business is what teaches you the mindset. And what is that mindset? That mindset is really, for me, consistent of three main pillars. Consistency, hungry, like how hungry you are, perseverance, and being able to be a very good problem solver. Those are the things that I've seen have generated exponential ROIs for me and any, mentees that I've had. I've seen people just give up and they need hand-holding throughout any issue that comes up with their business. And there's other people that will literally scour the internet to find a solution or tap into every person they know in their network just to get that answer, and solve that problem. So problem solving is another one. So you got to make sure to do the work no matter what, day in and day out, no matter how you feel. That is very, very important. And that is something that's very difficult, especially when you extrapolate it over many years as you grow older and you have issues that come up on a daily basis and you have a family to take care of, etc. But again, the person that just shows up, gets the work done, motivation or not, they don't want to do it, they get it done. It's just all about consistency, and consistency is very, very important in business. And again, once you have these 3 characteristics, you're just gonna make it no matter what. Like, there's nothing that's gonna stand in your way. One last thing I can add to that is ego. I've been a victim of this myself, unfortunately. Like, I reached a point where I was doing, $1 million months like it was nothing, and then I just got very, egotistical in the sense of not the way I treated people, but in a way like my hunger kind of died down and I was just complacent. And I was complacent in the knowledge I was taking in. I wasn't really, I thought I knew it all, and I thought I was better than anyone else in the sense of I know what I'm doing. But there's always someone who knows more than you, and there's always some type of information that you don't know that you could find out, and eventually, it'll just skyrocket your business. So you don't want to fall into that trap. I see that happening all the time, and I learned from it. That's how I lost $1 million in subscription for Pearl, the teeth whitening brand that I had. And it was because I got too cocky, too aggressive. I thought I knew it all, and I just blew $1 million. So you don't want to do that at all. You want to make sure that you're always learning, you're always keeping up. And this happens to billion-dollar companies where they just believe that they know what they're doing. They don't want to get with the times, and they just get left behind. And eventually, time does its own thing, and it's a death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And that's something that you should always keep in mind. And I wish I had someone really ingrain that in my brain back then, so it would have saved me a lot of time.
Yeah, and I think the Pearl example is perfect. I mean, I already know the story, but why don't you give the audience just a brief kind of overview of what happened with that?
Absolutely, yeah. So I had a business partner, and we were drop shipping and making a lot of money. We did 13 million with Pearl alone on that store, on that brand, and in total I've generated about 32 million so far in the past 4 years that I've been doing ecom, 4.5 now. And back then, we were drop shipping, we were crushing it, and then my business partner at the time was like, hey, why don't we try subscription? Because in subscription back then was and not the sketchy MRR that people do right now. It was like actual, like a product subscription, like people get, a teeth whitening kit with a pen and a light and everything. So, but back then, dude, there was no subscription knowledge out there. Like there was I think it was glue.io and like a couple apps that were doing it, like Recharge was one of them, and Recharge was a piece of crap back then. So, and you couldn't really see your churn, it was so hard, right? And Shopify wasn't really acquainted to, subscriptions back then. It was just a very, very brand new technology in the ecom world, and not many people even knew much about it. So I know that subscriptions have been around for a while, but not in the Shopify kind of like mainstream DTC, direct to consumer way. So we ended up just jumping in, head on to the subscription. We ditched the drop shipping and the whole brand basically in terms of just one-time products, one-time orders, and we went into recurring orders, which was a subscription. And one massive problem and one massive mistake that we made was we overestimated our growth, and we ended up hiring a massive team in order to support the customer support that we had taken on by switching models to the subscription model, because people are, always going to try to cancel their subscription. You have to have people, convincing them not to do that, so on and so forth, and handling all that. So that was a massive overhead. Like our overhead at one point, I think, was like $100K a month just to keep up with the subscription, inbound and recharge. And it was a very complicated thing, like we built the whole system for it, and we started getting more and more aggressive with it. And two things happened. One, we did a free plus model, which you pay shipping, you get the first month free, you try it, you get on a subscription, and then, if you like it, you keep it, and then you get billed again. And we were doing like a 7-day period where people get the product, and then they try it, and then they get billed, right? And then they get another product, and so on and so forth. But a lot of those people just wanted the freebie. They didn't want to stick around. So their churn rate was massive. And another issue we had is, even though we notified people that they were gonna get charged, people just didn't care. They didn't look, they didn't care. They ended up just charging back. So our chargeback rate was very high. It was like around like 1% which again is high, because Visa and MasterCard will not allow that. They'll put you on the blacklist, right? Mm-hmm. So we lost a lot of mids that way. So we couldn't process anymore. So we had to get high risk processing, which dug into our overhead as well, our top of the line or bottom line. And then we ended up having to scale down, had a bunch of stock left, couldn't sell it. And at the time, Facebook was against before and afters, and they were cracking down like crazy. So we couldn't really get any winning creatives anymore. So we were struggling with that, because any creative we launched, Facebook shut down. So it was a nightmare, man. It was a huge mistake. Should have stuck to just like, DTC, one-time product. I'm not saying that subscriptions don't work, but you really need to know what you're doing, and it's a very, very slow scale, and it's definitely a marathon. And it has to be a product that makes sense. Teeth whitening doesn't make sense because people just buy it and they don't do it. Nobody's gonna stick to whitening their teeth, once every week for 10 minutes. Like, people just don't do it.
Yeah, so this has been a good chat so far. I feel like we've covered a lot of stuff, but I want to save kind of some of the juiciest and some of the best stuff for the end here that I feel like will really provide massive value to the audience. And one of the big questions there for you is, if you could go back or if you could give somebody else advice on what steps to take, pretty much exactly, to go from, starting out to making their first maybe 10K a month, 100K a month, and eventually on and on and on from there, what would you say?
So there's two routes you can go, right? There's the service route and the product route. Again, service, we covered this earlier. You're really having to deal with clients. If you're the type of person that enjoys working with clients, having correspondence, interacting with people, then you can go the service route, and that's typically agencies. You work with clients who have ecom brands, products, or even a service that they're providing, a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever, and you market their services or their product. But for me, I prefer working on physical products, building something and then selling it to the masses, rather than just like working with a few select clients for a premium. If you go the product way, which is the direct-to-consumer brand way, and the e-commerce way, in that sense, what you want to do is you want to start learning as much as possible from select people in the space that know what they're talking about. There's a lot of guys out there who offer mentorships, and what you can do is you can hop on the mentorship, or you can even start by just joining Discords, going on Twitter, YouTube, and learning as much as possible about ecom. And the next thing you want to do is you want to pick a mentor and then kind of stick to them, because if you start listening to a bunch of people, then you're going to hear a bunch of contradicting stuff, and it's just going to sound very overwhelming and difficult, and you don't want that. So you want to stick to one person who knows what they're talking about, and then eventually, follow their lead, look at their content, probably, join their mentorship or their Discord or whatever they're offering. And then from that point on, you really want to learn as much as possible from them, you know, and you want to apply what they teach and follow their blueprint. And the way to do that is you can either start the organic way on TikTok by, you know, making a page, finding organic TikTok or finding YouTube content or shooting your own content that you can promote on TikTok for free, and then eventually go the organic way and have a store in the bio where people can click, go on your store and buy the product, right? So that's one way. A lot of trial and error and a lot of sweat equity in that. I don't like going that route. Typically, I like the paid traffic route, which is on Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, Google. What you can do is find a winner that's already doing decent on Facebook, on TikTok, or even Amazon. You can use also a lot of spy tools out there. Keep an eye out for Ad Sparrow. That's the spy tool that I'm launching. And you're going to be able to find a lot of winners on there. You can sort by, you know, number of ads, and it'll straight up give you winners. We also have hand-picked winners by our staff that go, and our staff goes on other spy tools, and they'll pick the winners from there, and they'll kind of put them on our spy
When
tool.
are you launching that? Because we'll have it linked down in the description as well.
Yeah,
For all you
we're launching it next week, so by the time
Great.
they see the video, it'll be launched. It's an AI-powered tool that scrapes Facebook for, you know, top-performing ads. You can sort from platform to, you know, platform where the selling is happening on, or sales platform to type of creatives, products, keywords, so on and so forth. And you can pick also winners that are doing very well, to export them, download videos, download ads, the whole nine. So it's going to be a crazy tool. So that's one thing you can do, or you can find winning ads on Facebook. You know, this product has potential. Okay, so you can do it the organic way and find ads on Facebook that are doing well, or TikTok maybe buy it, Amazon maybe buy it, AliExpress maybe buy it on TikTok. You know, hashtags that are doing very well in terms of products that are popping off. And then what you want to do is you want to take that product, download that ad, you know, improve the creatives, and by improve the creatives, you don't want to rip the ad as it is. Ideally, you want to shoot your own creatives, but usually that takes a lot of time. So you can source creatives off YouTube, off TikTok, or even AliExpress or Google or whatever, and then create your own version of that creatives that is better and the new and improved creative. And then you run those ads, and you want to run those products on a landing page that has a better offer, a better price. The Facebook algorithm always prioritizes cheaper offer. So say you have the same product, very similar creatives, same offer, Facebook is always going to push the offer with the cheaper price. Always, it's going to win in the bid, right, in the auction. So you want to make sure you do that, improve on the whole layout, on the product, the landing page, the offer, and then go ahead and run it, you know, and see how it goes. And then rinse and repeat till you find a winner, and then you can just scale that. And you can drop ship it. We have a lot of suppliers, as well as you do, that you offer in your mentorship and in the Discord, that can provide great pricing, quick shipping times, good customer support. So, you know, you can use those and find products, and, you know, just keep rinsing and repeating till you find a winner, and scale it, brand it, and there you go.
Love it. Sweet. So, guys, I think we're getting a little bit hungry, so we might have to step up for dinner. But as always, Jad, really appreciate sitting down, you know, taking your time out of your day to shoot this, you know, for the people out there watching. And also, I feel like I learn something new every time we sit down and have a chat.
Yeah, man, it's always a pleasure, honestly. It's always a pleasure hanging out, always a pleasure chopping that up, you know, on camera. You know, hopefully we can change lives, we can help people, we can provide, you know, what we've learned and make an impact one way or another. So that's the plan.
Sweet. All right, that's a wrap, guys.
All right.
Peace.